Welcome, these dear viewers, to the national channels from Djibouti. Here are the headlines of our news today. The Prime Minister presided an institutions strengthening of local authorities on the agenda. To the Continental News, Palestinian killed by the Israeli army in West Bank. Welcome if you join us in Djibouti channels. An important launching ceremony for the activities of the Djibouti Local Authority Support Project and the newly established Local Government Association was chaired by the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, and the Minister of Decentralization. This ceremony brought together all the communal and regional elected representatives gathered at the campus key for this workshop aimed at strengthening the capacity of the actors of the decentralizations. When he arrived, the Prime Minister was greeted by the Minister of Decentralization. The ceremony saw the participation of several ministers, including Minister of Interior Hassan Umar, as well as Minister of Housing Mr. Musa Mohammed, and Minister of Women Mumina Hamad, and the Secretary of State of Social Affairs Mrs. Muna Usman, and the Ambassador of the European Union in Djibouti. This project aimed to contribute to strengthening of decentralizations in all its different aspects and to the good management of local affairs. The support project is financed by the European Union and the associations of French-speaking armies whose representatives were on the spot. The Minister of Decentralization took the floor to thank the Prime Minister of agreeing to sponsor this event as it demonstrated the government's willingness and determinations to engage energetically in the process of decentralization. Our decentralization policy has over time overcome obstacles and steps, and this we have been faithful to the President's visions, not artificially graphing in new conceptions and in new practice on a very conservative, very centralized and a very bureaucratic body of politics and administration. This would have necessarily result in a rejection reaction. This is why we opted for a less frontal and more pedagogical method. For his part, the Prime Minister said in his speech that it was a pleasure for him to preside over this official ceremony dedicated to the institutional strengthening of local authorities at a time when the issues of decentralization is a key issue in the policy of the head of state, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. This is the one of the support that the government always be support to the Minister of Decentralizations to strengthening this ceremony during those days. After Geneva, where he participated in the third 139th sessions of the Interparliamentary Union, the speakers of the National Assembly, Mr. Muhammad Ali Hamad, went to the country of Thousands Hill to participate in the opening ceremony of the first regular sessions of the 5th legislatures of the Pan-African Parliament as a special guest. The opening of the work of the 5th Pan-African Parliament legislatures was the theme eradicating corruptions and sustainable path to the transformations of Africa. The President of the Republic of Rwanda and acting President of the African Union, Paul Kagame, and some African Parliament speakers have reaffirmed in their speech their unwavering support to the objectives of African unity. According to statistics released by the African Union, Africa loses more than 50 million US every year because of the scores of corruptions, which consequently has a major impact on the social and economic development and the achievement of the basic infrastructure, and that makes great contributions to the Black Continent. After that, the President Mohammed Ali Hamad reaffirmed during his speech his sincere and frightened greetings of the President Ismail Omar Guelleh and his people. Then he stressed that it was essential that the Pan-African Parliament become the catalyst for the economic recovery and collective self-reliance of our continent. Outreach efforts to African leaders in the African Union must continue to accelerate the ratifications of the Malabo Protocol, which governs the Pan-African Parliament and has so far been ratified by only 10 states. In addition, the head of the Djiboutian Hemicycle called on the other side to continue to fight against the corruptions in many countries of Africa. After that, the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, inaugurated this morning a new oxygen plant at the PLT Hospital in the presence of the Minister of Health, Dr. Jama' Al-Mu'uki, the Director, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hussein, and the medical staff of the PLT Hospital. On his arrival, the Prime Minister, Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, has the Edge of Honor formed by the medical specialists of the PLT hospital before proceeding to the cutting of the traditional inaugural ribbon. Subsequently, Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed and the Minister of Health, Dr. Jama', followed a guided tour of the oxygen plant under the explanations and clarifications of the Director of Hospitals, with its production capacity extending to 200 bottles per day. This new oxygen plant, financed by the Saudi Development Fund, will allow the PLT Hospital to get out of external dependence by granting itself its own oxygen plant in order to guarantee a total and permanent autonomy to its covered needs, and it fully automated and meeting the standard of quality and environmental preservation. This new oxygen plant is able to provide a continuous flow of oxygen to meet the demands of PLT Hospital, but also different health and especially in the hospital structure from the capital. In his speech, the Minister of Health, Dr. Jama' Al-Mu'uki, reminded everyone of the importance of this new oxygen plant in a hospital and called all each to make good use of it by employing greater attention as to the question of maintenance in order to guarantee the durability of the production unit. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, said he was satisfied with the quality of the facilities of this oxygen plant, which contribute to improving the supply of quality care in our hospital. Djibouti has several places appreciated by the tourists. For more details, let's follow this report.
The Corniche we talked about in a previous documentary, in its attractive aspect and its contribution to the art of living in the Djibouti city. It was Djibouti by night. Undoubtedly, the Corniche is the name given to this space. The image of Djibouti city has been more attractive. It is 10 o'clock. It's the night. Vehicles welcome the Djiboutians within the various establishments. Restaurant shops are booming. The businesses, young, old, families and tourists are gathered for a moment of happiness, but also the sharing. It can be argued that the Corniche is a victim of its success, its users and its operators. Indeed, behind the scenes in the light of the day raise concern as well as questions about the durability of this space, popular, known by every Djiboutian. This backdrop reveals during the day the garbage of customers consumed in the shops, working in the evening. In addition to the waste generated during the opening hours, It is not uncommon to see all kind of rubbish in the lagoon of Venice and its shores. In the framework of the ecosystem preservations as well as the work tools, the jobs at the Corniche represent the situation which is getting worse, but also challenging. To start, we tried to reach the ministry in charge of the environment, but to no avail. No one was inclined to answer to our questions about the situation. Ideally, we should attend a management that should involve all the players, which is not the case. In addition, the sewage, hard and reject in the sea, condemned in the medium and the long term, the ledge. This space of relaxations, so what should be the solution? It would be naturally preferable to bring all the key players in order to coordinate efficiently the effort of each and every one to arrive at a result worthy of what embodies the Corniche, a certain Djiboutian spirit, but also a way of living.
And now let's move to the continental news. An Israeli army killed one Palestinian. For more details, let's follow the report of Hinda.
Israel troops killed Palestinian men and wounded 3 others during a raid in a village in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday, a Palestinian medical official told. The dead man was identified as Muhammad Basharat, a 22-year-old university student who was shot in the Washist medical. Israeli troops frequently carry out raids in the West Bank, including in area under Palestinian civilian control, where Israel retains overall security oversight under interim peace deals. Palestinians wanted the West Bank captured by Israel in the 1967 Middle East War to be part of an independent state along with the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip, with East Jerusalem as its capital.
Here we end this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.